Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Brass with Scooter. I jumped the gun about 30 seconds, so I started the show too quick. You know, I was really motivated to just get into the thick of it today. Or not. I just hit the wrong video because you were supposed to see a countdown timer first, and then the video intro and that kind of thing. So anyway, welcome to Shooting the Brass. I'm Scooter. And Scooter's Brass and Shooting the Brass is sponsored by AJI Sporting Goods. They're here in the East Valley on Main Street or Apache Trail, depending on which part of town you're from. Same street, just different names halfway across. They are just west of Signal Butte Road in East Mesa, Apache Junction. So if you want good deals, I just picked up a bunch of 9mm from them yesterday. Yesterday for the upcoming PCC batch, and they had pretty much all types of ammo available. They even had 45-70. So that's if you want to get some ammo, accessories, or guns or whatnot, please go visit them. Tell them Scooter sent you. So today we're going to kind of get into the thick of it. We're coming up on a very big date for remembrance, which of course is September 11th. It's the 20th anniversary this year of the terrorist attacks in New York. And so I'd kind of like to go a little bit over what I would call tribalism and how it affects our country today and how it's impacting and destroying our country today. Tribalism is pretty simple to understand. Everybody kind of finds themselves as a part of a tribe or group. For example, I'm a liberal, so I kind of tend to deal mostly in any kind of political type discussions that I have with liberals because we're all, kind of like-minded. Not always in some things. Most of my liberal friends and especially some of my real far left liberal friends don't like the fact that I'm a big proponent for the Second Amendment, that I believe that every American has the right to bear arms, which I do. And so it puts us into problems. We were watching Bill Maher Friday night, or I think it was actually yesterday morning, because we always try to watch the Friday night show the next day or so, because we go to bed real early because we're up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work anyway. So we were watching the Bill Maher thing. And that's one of the big things that came up in the discussion is tribalism and how it's affecting our country. Now, if you actually remove the politics, and this was the whole concept behind the conversation, if you remove the politics from a conversation between people on the left and people on the right, you'll find similarities in things that both sides overall, this is without the politics, agree upon. Okay. For example, I have a conservative friend at work, and both of us agree, if you take the politics out of it, both of us agree that our education system in the United States right now sucks. Okay. It's not teaching kids what they need to know to be successful citizens of this country. It's good to teach history and science and math and all that other stuff, but you also need to teach them, at least from my point of view, teach them life skills. Okay, teach them how to balance a checkbook, teach them financial type education, how to budget, have a monthly budget for your household, that kind of thing. And we don't do that often enough, I think, in schools these days. Teaching kids exactly how government works without the politics, the actual structure. Back in my day, they used to call that civics, where you would actually get educated on the Constitution, how government actually works, regardless of the politics part of it, the functions of government, etc. We don't do that anymore. But the thing is, as soon as you throw a politics stand into that conversation, it's destroyed because of tribalism. People on the right and the left can agree on stuff and can agree that things are messed up, or agree that, for example, as a liberal, I really would like to see term limits, because I'm tired of seeing Republicans and Democratic senators and House of Representatives spending 35 years in Congress. Okay, you're supposed to be serving the people for a short period of time. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they put term limits on the president to 2 terms, right? It doesn't behoove us to have the same people in office for 30 to 40 years, because they're set in their ways by that time, and they don't adapt well to the changing socioeconomic conditions in our country, the social conditions in our country, and how we as younger folks interact with people, regardless of how they did when they were our age, right? So, but a lot of, liberals and whatnot may disagree with term limits, because, well, if you get somebody good in there, you should keep them in there as long as you can. Well, yeah, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having re-elections every year, every 2 years for House and every 6 years for Senate, if you're always electing the same people over and over and over again. You need new blood on a regular basis to be able to move along, make things better for everyone, that kind of thing. When we get down to tribalism, though, look at left versus right. Okay, tribalism is preventing conversation between left and right, compromise between left and right, okay, working together between left and right, because it's all about the tribe now, okay? Conservatives don't want to help the liberals make a budget deal, because they look like they're weak by compromising with the other side, and that's what their base is expecting, okay? And it's really causing a lot of problems in our country. It wasn't just a week or two ago, Senator Sinema from Arizona worked really hard and long to come up with a bipartisan deal for the infrastructure bill that they passed. She worked really hard on that. Liberals flipped their minds because she worked with the Republicans to come up with a deal. She didn't push hard enough to get everything they wanted. Well, when you're governing, compromise is a very valuable commodity. And it behooves us as left and right folks to work with the opposition to come up with something, because usually if you do that and you're both in agreement and you're working for both sides are working together to make something that helps everyone, it's always going to be better than something where, the left says this is the best thing, we'll pass it along partisan lines, or the right says this is going to be the best thing and we'll pass it along partisan lines. It's only going to help the people that support them on those sides, okay? And that's where tribalism comes in. It's preventing our country from growing. It's preventing our country from being successful at a local level. For those of you on social media, well, I'm assuming you're on social media because you're watching right now. Go into any kind of comment section on any types of posts these days and look just how hateful each side of the conversation is towards each other. It's horrible. It really is horrible. We have lost any sense of respectful dialogue in this country because it's too easy to get online and be a complete dick to everyone that doesn't agree with you. And it's even worse inside the tribes. For example, how many times have I been, just mowed over by people on the left because I own guns? It's a constitutional right, just like free speech. You're going to tout and scream about protecting free speech, but you want me to give up my guns because they're dangerous. Well, they're dangerous in the hands of somebody that doesn't respect them, doesn't understand them, and does not, or that is willful to use them in an act of violence towards other people. That's not me. I hope I never have to use a firearm or any other type of weapon against a fellow human being, or even animals. I don't hunt because I just feel bad about it. But inside my tribe, I'm the black sheep. I'm the evil one. And it's the same on the right. You disagree with Trump? Oh, you're a rhino. How many times have you heard that conversation? This person's a rhino, or this person's a Dino. Democrat in name only, Republican in name only. Why does anybody have to be labeled Republican or Democrat? I'm neither. I label myself as an independent because I think the political parties on both sides are the biggest problem, second to media, in ruining this country. Because it's all about power to them. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are all about keeping the power. That's what they care about. And that's why you have a bunch of politicians out there that are just throwing out bullshit information to keep their base angry at the opposition so they can get reelected. How about we do away with that whole political party bullshit? Sure, they've been around since the Revolutionary War, but that doesn't mean that they haven't always been bad, but they're not always good, because every single politician that gets elected, every single one, forgets the idea that when you're elected to represent the people, you are not there to represent your conservative constituents or your liberal constituents. You're there elected to represent every single one of them, regardless of their political affiliation. That doesn't work anymore, does it? Be a liberal and try to have a conversation with somebody like Representative Paul Gosar. Guarantee you that conversation won't last, because you're a liberal and you're bringing up topics that make them feel uncomfortable that they do not want to talk about. So they'll push you aside. And it's the same on the right. They do the same thing. I've seen, we went to an event when I was running for office, and it was an event, and we had a friend who was an independent candidate tap your cam. I tapped my cam. Did that work? I don't know what you mean by tapping my cam. Should I flick it? Should I thump it? Yeah, I know I'm blurry. I got to figure out this whole camera thing, because it seems like on YouTube and Facebook, my video is always blurry, but on my computer, it's clear as a bell. So one of these days, I got to figure that shit out. And I'm actually connected via network cable as opposed to Wi-Fi. So you figure I should have a better feed, but I'm also at 1080p, but I don't know. Okay. Thanks, Kara. Tell me later, because I just don't understand. But anyway, so if you're looking at both sides, this friend of ours came to the event in support of the event. And one of the Democrats there, and I don't know if any of you guys know Katie Hobbs, who's now our Secretary of State. She was running for either the House or the Senate back then. She wanted him removed from the event because he wasn't a Democrat. He supported the cause. He was there to support the cause. But because he wasn't a Democrat, she wanted him removed. Why is that? Why do you have to be a Democrat, or do you have to be a Republican to be able to participate in an event that you support? There is no reason for that other than tribalism. Okay? So you have your tribe. If somebody breaks the rules of your tribe or disagrees with anything in your tribe, they're outcast. That's where you get your dinos and your rhinos. I mean, you see it all the time. I see comments all the time online about, oh, this Republican senator is a rhino because he doesn't follow conservative values. Well, who's defining those conservative values? You? Well, your conservative values may be different than that person's. That doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're not conservative. It's just that they don't cater to your belief system or what you think is right. And Kara, that's a really good movie, The Warriors. I have that movie and I love it. And it is similar to that, where you get attacked from within, as what was the one that was Mr. Badass that always, I can't remember what his name was. Swan was the one that became leader. And then there was I think it was Ajax. Anyway, whatever. You're going to have power struggles within the group of your tribe. And then you're going to have struggles between tribes. Even if the tribes are focusing on the same place, okay? For example, there's two tribes, liberal gun owners, conservative gun owners. I'm a liberal gun owner. See, Liberal Gun Club. I'm a member of that organization for a reason. I'm not a member of the NRA because the NRA caters towards conservative right-wing people. So anytime I try to get into a conversation with those folks, I'm filleted alive for being a liberal. Oh, well, if you're a liberal, you can't be supportive of the Second Amendment. Yes, I can. I know it's hard for you to concept in your head because you spend so much time listening to bullshit on the internet, but that's not true. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. That's just your opinion. Supporting the Constitution is an American value. It's not a conservative value. Just like gun ownership is not a conservative value. It's an American value. Some Americans choose not to. But in our day and time these days, we have spent so much time defining every issue by whose side owns it. Second Amendment, that's a conservative issue. First Amendment, well, that's mostly a liberal issue, unless you get to freedom of religion, and I want my religion to be on top, so I'm going to support that one. You either support the Constitution or you don't. Just like you either support your elected officials or you don't. Okay? One of the trends I've also seen over the past 25 years or so, 20 years, 25 years, is how people choose to respect and or disrespect the office of president. Okay. In the first Bush election, George W. Bush, I voted for him because I didn't like Al Gore's stance on gun control. I thought it was whacked. And so I voted for George Bush. Then after 4 years of George Bush, I said, man, this guy's a fucking idiot. But I never respected the office of president. I didn't go out there and publicly call George Bush a fucking idiot on social media because I wanted to own the conservatives, which is what we do now. But I see people all the time, even people that were elected to represent this country, calling the president of the United States a piece of shit. How respectful is that as an elected official, elected to government by your constituents, where you can't even respect the office of the president because they don't follow the same political leaning that you do? That's messed up. Okay. And for full reference, that was Representative, what was her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, whichever one she is. The lady that was, banging one of her guys at the gym before she got elected. Yeah, that really goes towards that conservative evangelical type side, isn't it? I don't care who you bang and what you do in your private life, but when you tout conservative values and you scream about the what do they call it? It was the big one for gay marriage. The conservatives were always screaming about it. The sanctity of marriage. When you're sitting up there like Newt Gingrich, who's had, 3 wives? 2 of them he left while they were ill. And then you get up there and you scream about conservative values and how same-sex marriage is affecting the sanctity of marriage, calling the kettle black. Jesus. And we have politicians on both sides of the aisle standing up there right now doing that same thing. Okay. There was the big famous thing where President Trump was giving the State of the Union, and Nancy Pelosi was standing up there behind him, and she did that whole sassy clap or what at him. I found it disrespectful. I don't give a shit if she doesn't like him or whatnot. He's still the president of the United States at that time. And you fucking show respect of that office, regardless of whether you agree with the person occupying the office at that point in time. I'm not a big fan of Biden, but I'm not running around calling him a piece of shit, just like I'm not a fan of Trump, and I didn't go around calling him a piece of shit because I respected the office of the president. That's the way Americans are supposed to look at it, unless you're trying to use it for political gain. Then, of course, you're out there calling President Biden a piece of shit. on fucking YouTube in front of 8 million followers, and then you wonder why we have no respect for people in this country anymore. Well, because they're practicing what you're preaching, and that puts them into your tribe. And anyone outside that tribe is wrong, even when they're right. Did I hear about the new Texas abortion ban? I don't think I have. I know that they just signed another voter harassment bill, or another restriction for voters in Texas. I'm sorry. I'm the type of person that believes every single person in the United States that's a citizen that has the right to vote should be given full and free access to do so. If there's voter fraud, it's easy to find. I think they just convicted some guy of voter fraud. He was a Republican, and he changed a whole bunch of ballots, absentee ballots. I can't remember what state that was in. I think it was Georgia or North Carolina. But anyway, so yeah, I'm all about giving everybody equal access to their rights. And anytime people make laws to try to prevent people from voting, I find that an issue. Do I have a problem with requiring ID to prove who you are when you go to vote? Not necessarily. You got to provide ID when you want to buy a beer. Nowadays, you got to provide an ID if you want to buy fucking cold medicine. So that's why we have government-issued driver's license and IDs, right? Because you use them to prove who you are. So do I have a problem with voter ID? Not necessarily. Do I think that if we're going to require voter ID for voting, that we should make it easier for people to get their ID? Yes. Have you ever stood at the DMV trying to get just a basic old identification card? It takes hours. So, yeah, and they don't make it easy for you to go in there and get it. So, it's a toss-up. But because I say I don't have a problem with voter ID laws, my tribe hates me. Because all of a sudden, it's racist if you think we should require a voter ID requirement. No, it's not. It's an identification. It tells you the person who's giving you the ballot for you to fill out who you are, that you match the name on the damn list. Why is that a problem? Because it's become politicized, and because it's part of a tribalism. That's why it's messed up. So, plain and simple, what do we do about tribalism? And that kind of leads into the upcoming 20th anniversary of 9/11, because I've been seeing some stuff online right now that just burn my ass. I saw a person post, there's an upcoming documentary. I think it's on National Geographic. I saw if you look at if you have access to my personal profile, you'll see that I posted a link for it about 9/11. It was like a 2-minute trailer for the show that's going to be on the National Geographic. I think it's going to be on September 11th. And the person that shared it said, "This is for all you asshole liberals that have forgotten." Why does it have to be the liberals who have forgotten? What value does that bring to the conversation by saying something like that? I posted it back. I shared it off of that link, and I spent the time, and I put in there, because one of the things about 9/11 that I thought was a good thing was that in that instant, when we were attacked and those towers fell, we became Americans again. Not Republicans, not Democrats, not liberals, not independents. We all were all of a sudden Americans, the big melting pot. They attacked us, we stand together. Just as many liberals lost their lives in that attack as conservatives. Just as many liberals were on site trying to get people out of the rubble. It wasn't about a political statement. Here we are 20 minutes later, coming up on the 20th anniversary of a horrible attack on the U.S. soil, and you're making it political. Stop it. I sat there, my liberal ass, watching it live on TV when it happened. because my wife and I were home for the day. We decided to go into work late. We didn't go into work at all that day after that happened. But we watched it live on TV. Just like I watched the space shuttle when it went up, the Challenger. I was watching it when it happened. That doesn't make me any less American because I'm a liberal. It doesn't mean that I have forgotten because I'm a liberal. So why post shit like that? And it's the same on the liberals. I'm not blaming just conservatives. The liberals do it too. Both sides do that shit. Let's see if I can make this work. For those in the audience, I'm going to try to make, there we go. Back in 2016, we had some people running who wanted automatic voter registration. I'd love automatic voter registration, but as she says, she still gets jury duty slips at her house for people that haven't lived there in years. Why is that? Is it the system? Partially, but it's also the person. How many people move and then don't update their driver's license? I still get mail and stuff like that here at the house from my brother. He hasn't lived here in 15 years. Okay? It's real simple. It's on the person to change their registration when they move. But it's also on the system to verify that every so often. The problem here in Arizona is your driver's license is good for like 30 years. Right? When I was in Oregon, I think the driver's license had to be updated every 4 years, which makes sense because every 4 years, they get new information as to where you live. Go figure. So, funny how that works. I'm going to go here. We do need to make it easier to get ID. And yes, I agree. Homeless people should still be allowed identification, even if they do not have a home. There's no reason to not let them have that. You know, I guess one of the things that you could do is you could maybe, for organizations that support the homeless, give homeless people, allow them to use your address as theirs so they can get an ID. But the simple way would be able to say, just give them an ID for their last known location or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to fix that problem. But it should be fixed because it's horrible that a person who's homeless for whatever reason can't even get an identification, which means that if they do get a job, they can't go cash a check. They can't get a checking account. So how does that work? So yeah, we need to work on that. And yeah, people moved out of state and did not get licenses in their new states. That's also a problem. And it's also on the onus of the person who's moving. When you move to a new state, they usually have some sort of requirement. I think for Arizona, once you move here from out of state, you have 6 months to get an Arizona driver's license and to switch your car over to Arizona plates. I think that's what the rule is. It was when we moved down here from Oregon back in 1997. 97? Is that when we moved? Yeah. So, yeah. So that's the problem. Now, we still have the big problem of tribalism, and I connect that to the 9/11 attacks because of the fact that there was no tribalism on 9/11. When it happened, we were Americans, and Americans stepped up, liberals and conservatives. I mean, we were the same day we were donating to the Red Cross and whoever else we could to help with what was going on in New York. It's not that difficult to understand and believe that somebody you disagree with politically may still support their country. Or, you know, how many times do you see online where the name calling, you're a libtard, liberals are communists, Republicans are Nazis, all that kind of stuff. Is that really? Sure, some on each side may fit those profile names, but that doesn't mean they all do. And by spreading that kind of information, you're just creating that divide and making it bigger, preventing the tribes on either side of the aisle from working together, communicating, compromising, and building a better future for our country. So you're a part of the problem. You are definitely part of the problem if you buy into that crap. I shoot with a lot of conservatives. I've got conservative friends. My sponsor is a big conservative. I don't talk politics with these folks because politically we're going to disagree. But when I'm on the range and we're in a competition, there is camaraderie. regardless of political affiliation. Nobody gives me, well, one of my friends gives me shit just because he knows that he's digging at me and I'm digging at him. We don't discuss politics. We don't sit there and bash each other for having difference of opinions or different political leanings. We're there for the same reason. So we just don't do it. So why can we not do that online? Why could the tribes not start doing that? Not having the conversation. And that's one of the things on the bill, Mar. Why does everything have to be political? Take Afghanistan right now. Afghanistan, the withdrawal and everything was a complete shit show. Okay, I'm so on board with that. They should have pulled out all the civilians first and then pulled the military out. They did it in reverse. So you basically left a whole bunch of military equipment, a whole bunch of military stuff there, intelligence stuff, all the civilians, and you pulled the military out. Bad idea. But I don't blame that. I don't blame the administration for the suicide bomber attack on the airport, because the administration didn't attack the airport. The suicide bomber from ISIS-K did. That's who deserves the blame for that. But when you go onto social media, that's not what you see. All you see is blaming Biden or blaming Trump for making a treaty with the Taliban, which everybody and their mother knew that they wouldn't follow through on, and then throwing it in Biden's lap and saying, oh, look, he's fucked it all up. No, we're not going to go there. I'm not going to go there because it has no value added other than keeping the divide between tribes. I'm going to say the people that are at fault are the people who planned, armed, and attacked the airport, killed 13 Marines and like 160 other people in the 2 bombings that happened that day. Those are who need to have the blame. But over here, all these people are blaming everyone else. Oh, it's Biden's fault. Oh, it's Trump's fault. Oh, blah, blah. No. The people who did the attack are the ones responsible for the attack. That's the fault. Just like in a mass shooting, okay? You have somebody that go in and, oh, gun owners, we need to take all these guns away. No, stop with the guns. The gun didn't wake up one day and said, hey, I'm going to go shoot some people. A person did. So why is it that whenever there's a gun issue, we always focus on the type of gun they used, instead the mental health and physical and mental drain of the person who actually committed the crime? Why? Because it doesn't fit in social media. Because it doesn't fit on the regular media. It keeps us divided. That's what they want to do. Because in America United puts down all of these decisive, divisive folks. If America was divided or united, we wouldn't have right-wing media and left-wing media. We'd have media. Part of that goes back to the fairness doctrine, which was canceled during the Reagan administration. Before that, news outlets had to give a balanced view of all the issues. As soon as that ended, that's when news media went partisan. Boom. Now, do you get news? No, you get opinion. Every single cable news channel, local channels and stuff like that, when it comes down to a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, it's all their opinions with a little bit of fact thrown in. Plain and simple. You take a little bit of fact, you narrate it to your listeners in a way that's going to enrage them and keep them tuned to your channel, even if it's partially false or mostly false. Why are fact checkers the enemy? Because so many people have been spouting out so much misinformation that they're getting their asses thrown off of networks, and they're screaming, oh, well, you're violating the First Amendment. No, you're just full of shit. Sure, you can spout out that stuff and fake stuff and all day long. But when it comes down to it, you are not immune from the consequences of spouting that shit out. You're not. The First Amendment only gives you the right to not be silenced by the government. First Amendment has nothing to do with the contract you sign with Facebook or with Twitter or with Twitch or any of these other social media organizations. The freedom of speech specifically is to prevent government from silencing your freedom of speech. But yet we have a whole bunch of constitutional scholars on the internet that don't understand that simple concept. Because everybody on the internet is now a fucking expert in whatever they're talking about. Go figure how that works. It's messed up, right? At least that's for me. But that's how tribalism is really ruining our country. And it's doing the same thing for 9/11. All these posts from these conservatives talking about how liberals forgot all about 9/11. No, I remember it. I was watching it. My wife and I had to go to New York after it happened because we had to go through all of the computer equipment from the World Trade Center, Bank of New York building. Was it Building 7?
I think it was Building 7.
I think it was Building 7. Because we had to go through all the computer hardware, all of that kind of stuff. We had to destroy hard drives that were too old to keep. We had to make sure that all of the equipment had no traces of asbestos. So when you say, here, liberals, you assholes, you're not supposed to forget, I don't. So stop saying that. Stop assuming that because somebody is a liberal, they hate this country. Stop saying that because a person is a conservative that they're all Nazis. They're not. I have very good friends that are conservatives. And we have political discussions from time to time that are very grounded, very honest, without anger, without name calling, where we agree to disagree on some things. We find that we agree on things that we didn't realize we were going to agree on. And that's called civil discourse. Not what you see online now. Because what you see online now is a political shit show. Has no value to fixing this country. It makes people believe that to fix this country, we have to get rid of conservatives. Or we have to get rid of liberals. When that's not the case. This country has been around for 245 years. And we've had liberals and conservatives in this country running the place all that time. It's real simple to fix. Just stop being a dick online. Stop being a douchebag. Look at the information that you're getting and fact check it yourself with more than one source, with more than one type of source. If you see something on Breitbart and then you verify it on the Blaze, you haven't really verified and fact checked it. Because what you have to do is you have to look at news sources from both sides of the aisle and find out from all of those what parts match. There's your truth. All the other stuff is opinion and bullshit, narrative. But they all have the same base truth, whether it be some sort of statistic, some sort of timeline of an incident that happened somewhere, whatever. It's not that difficult to treat each other with common, basic human dignity. And yet we throw that away every single day to own the libs or to own the conservatives, to go after anybody that's not part of our tribe. Well, tribalism sucks. And when you think about it, what could the American Indians have done if they all banded together against the white man when we first got here? They all lived in tribes. So it was real easy for white man to come in just out of sheer numbers and wipe out one tribe at a time. It's real simple. That's what's happening now in this country. We're being wiped out one tribe at a time. We're being separated one tribe at a time. And it's all of our fault. Everyone that dumps into that same narrative, that gets on Facebook and all they can do is scream about the other side. You're the problem in this country. You can say you're a patriot. You can say you're standing up for America, but you're not. Because you clearly hate Americans. Just by the way you treat them. Actions speak louder than words, my friends. And when your actions show that you're a douchebag to everybody that doesn't agree with you, it's not their problem, it's yours. So keep that in mind with that. So let's move to a not so frustrating and angry and downplaying piece of crap type of conversation. Coming up, We've got matches coming up next month. We have the Rio Salado multi-gun. Well, first we have the black rifle match at Rio Salado a week from yesterday. So Saturday the 4th. Yeah, Saturday, September 4th is the black rifle match. Registration on Practice Score opens tomorrow night at 6:30, I think. 6 or 6:30. Then the following weekend for Labor Day weekend, no, the weekend after Labor Day weekend is the Rio Salado September multi-gun match. So 2-gun, 3-gun. And that's going to be the second Saturday of September, which is, I think, around the 10th or 11th. I'd have to actually look at a calendar. And then towards the end of the month, we have the Arizona State PCC Championships. It's a 2-day tournament, 3 days if you count the staff match, which I'm usually a member of, because I will be range officer on stage 3 for the main match. So if you happen to be in the area and you want to come out and see some interesting competitions, I'll be on stage 3. Come by, say hi. I'll be there for 2 days, trying to keep people safe, watching people do a good job, watching people do a bad job. I'll probably do one of those myself. Hopefully I won't shoot myself in the foot or anything. And then the week after that, the first weekend of October, is the Red October Cold War match, sponsored by Rio Multi-Gun at Rio Salado. And this is where people using free world weapons like the AR-15, the AR-10, M1 Garand, things that were used by the NATO forces during the Cold War, will go up against those that are using communist-based AK-47s, Kalashnikovs, any of that kind of stuff. So it's a real interesting match. I'll be able to participate this year. I didn't last year because I left my ammo and my magazines all sitting on the garage floor. But I'll be there this year. I'm competing, not range officering for that match. And then, then there'll be the regular monthly matches in November and December. I don't think there's any special matches going on that I know of at this point in time. So that's upcoming events that are going on. With the way things are going, it's really hard to get ammo still. Now, President Biden has put some sort of an executive order or whatnot that is basically killing the import of ammunition made in Russia. So any of your Wolf ammo, I think, and Tula brand ammo, I think, most stuff that's made in steel cases instead of brass, that's going to be harder to get. It's usually one of the cheaper ammos, but since now there's the ability, or they're moving to ban the import of that ammo, a lot of these online ammo stores like Bulk Ammo and all these other things, they're pulling all the Russian-made ammo off their websites for purchase. And then when things get a little bit worse, they're going to probably put it back on their website at an extensive charge up. So I would suggest, if you can find ammo now, go ahead and get some. I picked up 500 rounds of ammo for 9mm for the PCC State Championship yesterday at AJI Sporting Goods. They had more ammo there. I know they had one box of 1,000 rounds of 9mm. I think it was $596 for the box, $596. I don't need 1,000 rounds. Oh, let me rephrase that. I hope I don't have to use 1,000 rounds in this match, because I'll look really bad if I have to double the ammo of everybody else. If you have the ability to make ammo, stock up on supplies. I've got 223 shell casings and 308 shell casings that I'm working on now. I've got to deep prime, resize, trim if necessary, and get them ready for the tumblers so that I can polish them up and make them look pretty. Then load them up with my favorite projectiles, 150 grain for the 308 and 55 I'm working on it. Okay. I think I'm back. Apparently, our CenturyLink internet went down in the house, and now I'm connected via my cell phone hotspot. I don't know how well it's going to work. I'm still trying to figure out if it's actually working. If anybody's watching, I see that I have 3 people watching right now still. But I don't know about that. I wonder if I can back this up. Oh, I can't because our internet's down. Oh, wait, it looks like it may have come back up.
Oh, Jesus.
Is it coming back up?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, so I can't even tell you where I was at just a few minutes ago. So, yeah, our internet at the house went down. So I'm reconnected via cell phone hotspot. For those of you still watching and or listening, I appreciate it. It looks like our viewership went down to almost no one because the network went down. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead after that snafu and go ahead and call it a day. We're 55 minutes or so in anyway, 50 minutes in. Next week, not sure what we're going to talk about. I'm going to hopefully try to get somebody to come on the show with me. And we can discuss, lots of different things going on in the world today. Please, folks, if you could, just try to be kind to one another. Quit trying to own those that you don't agree with. That's what we call trolling, right? If that's the best that you have to do with your time is to troll those that you disagree with or dissenting online with people that don't agree with the way you do, it's not really getting anywhere. I mean, it must just be a cheap thrill for you to do that kind of stuff. So let's try not to do that. Let's try to treat each other with a little bit of respect from now on. Try not to be bound up by tribalism. Try to understand that we're all Americans, regardless of political leanings, and try to have conversations with people that don't have politics involved. That would be nice. Leave the politics out of it. Just have real conversations, real interactions. Interpersonal communication apparently is a very lost art because nobody does it anymore. So keep that in mind. Hope you guys have a really good week. Have a very safe Labor Day weekend next week. I know that it's a big travel day and a lot of people are running around out there doing things. So please be careful. Drive safely. Don't drive angry. Don't drive drunk. Don't drive however that's going to hurt somebody or yourself. And keep in mind that we are all still Americans. We can all contribute to this country. We just have to have the ability to do so by the people in this country. It's that easy. So have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Hope you have a great time. This is Scooter with Shooting the Brass.